All right. Well, folks, it is now 3 o'clock in central part of the country, and the appropriate difference in the others, but we're ready to get this thing rolling. Welcome to the January ZoomTRAK meeting. We have 4 topics today. Lee Williams is going to give us an introduction to 3D CAD and 3D printing. Gadoury is going to give us a little 10-minute presentation on video and audio editing and production. Terry's going to do his monthly Talkin T-TRAK blog. And then our main topic today, Lee Calkins, who's been recently appointed as an advisor to the board, is going to give us an introduction to FreemoN. So everybody's muted, everybody's ready to go. So Lee, if you're ready, let's get this show rolling.
Okay, let me go into, there we go. Okay, everybody should see my first title slide, right?
We're in good shape. Yep, ready to go.
Okay, this is an introduction to 3D CAD and 3D printers. So this is going to be very top level without a whole lot of detail. I got started with this, building a model railroad, and I wanted to model this particular arch viaduct highway bridge. And you can see it's got a pretty complicated sort of arch in here. And I looked on the internet and didn't see one that really looked like this, so I decided I'd get started. Also, if you look at the guardrail along the this bridge, and this is a Google Street View, you can see it's got a rather unique guardrail with these bottle-shaped columns in the guardrail. So I decided to go with a 3D CAD and a 3D printer route on this. Okay, 3D CAD programs. I've got 3 of them that I'm going to look at here real quick. OpenSCAD, Fusion 360, and SketchUp. Bruce Alcock sent me a link for some freeware called OpenSCAD, and this is what the screenshot of it looks like. It's rather difficult to use because you have to define your shape with line commands, and this is like a crossbar for a telegraph pole or power pole here that I drew up with this one. And you can see all these commands. You have to keep track of X, Y, Z coordinates, and it's kind of difficult to use. Model Railroader Video Plus has a gal named Kathy Millett, who had a video on doing 3D CAD and 3D printer, and she was using a program called Fusion 360. And I went to the website and took a screenshot of the website. As you can see from this, it is rather expensive. You can download a free trial, and she said in the video that if you register as a non-commercial user, you don't have to pay for it. I haven't tried it. Probably the more common one that people are using is SketchUp. Now, this is a screenshot of SketchUp's website, and right now SketchUp does their modeling as a online with your browser, and they have a free version, and then they have some more capable subscription type versions. However, SketchUp 2017 is still available for download, and that's what I started using. It's an installable version, so you don't have to be online while you're using it, and it was still available for free download. So here are some examples, some screenshots of my SketchUp. This is the little smaller arch that's on the right of that picture that I did in SketchUp. I have to do this in sections because of the size of this bridge and the size of the area my 3D printer will work with. Here is half of the larger arch as drawn in SketchUp. And then, of course, here is the guardrail that I drew up in SketchUp. And then the key to interfacing between your 3D CAD and the 3D printer is something called an STL file. This is a standard file format for 3D objects, okay? And it becomes the interface between your CAD and your printer. As far as 3D printers, there's generally 2 types of 3D printers. The most common type is the 3D an extrusion printer, and this has an extrusion head, and it uses a plastic filament which can come in multiple colors, and it melts a little dot of plastic and then puts it in the appropriate places to build up the layers of the 3D object you're printing. I opted to buy a UV resin 3D printer. It works a little bit differently. You can see it's got a plate on it that goes up and down, and there's a vat of UV resin at the bottom of it. And what it does is it uses UV LEDs in the bottom that shine through with LCD masking for each layer, and then the head moves down and gets just a little film of resin between it and that bottom of the vat, and then you expose a layer, and then it moves up a little bit and keeps doing layers like that. The nice thing about this printer, particularly for N-scale modelers, is that you can get very high resolution, which is good. Right now, I'm using it in a 50 microns per layer level. However, one thing about this is that the 3D prints then need to be washed and finish the curing process after you wash them, after you print them. This is my setup here. The printer's on the left here. The center part is like a little tub that you put isopropyl alcohol in to use to wash it, and then the washer and dryer machine is on the right. Right now, it's showing it in the cure configuration, not wash and cure. You take the lid off and the little turntable off, and you put your 3D print with in that little tub of alcohol, and it's got a little magnet that spins an agitator that helps wash it, and that is very helpful to making it a little bit easier. So 3D printers, you have to use a software that comes with the 3D printer, and what this software does is it imports your STL file, and then it does what's called slicing your image, and it just takes a picture or takes like an image of each layer that defines what each layer of the 3D printer needs to print. Now, the nice thing about this particular type of printer is that this particular software lets you position the object where you want to position it. It allows you to scale the object, so you could take an STL file for like HO scale object and then scale it down to N scale. It also, and this was a really big help for me in these railings, it allows you to make a mirror image of the object you want to do the 3D print. So this is what that 3D printer is capable of doing. This is a guardrail that after I had painted it, what it looked like, and I put my ruler next to it so you can see the level of resolution that's capable with this UV resin printer, and it's pretty impressive. This is the two sections of that larger arch. This is what they look like before you have painted the objects, and I'm going to have two halves of this particular arch, and then there'll be several other arches in the whole bridge when I finish building it. But you can see how it was able to make a pretty good copy of what we saw there. And then here is that smaller arch that I put in the layout after painting it, to kind of give you an idea of what it can do. And I think that's about what I've got there. So if you got any questions, go ahead and you can do them in the chat there. I've got right here with me some of those printouts. Like I said, let's see if I can show it to you fairly well. There we go. There's a unpainted version of the thing, and nice thing is, like I said, you can do mirror images of it, which is kind of nice here, like this, without having to redraw. Oops, let me get this thing up here. Without having to redraw the whole thing. This is a guardrail I did for the freeway here, and in this case, I just did the actual railing at the top is actually a piece of monofilament that I glued onto the top. So that's an idea of what you can do, and of course, it opens up a whole new world of being able to model prototype stuff that you can't necessarily find that somebody's made a kit for, or having to revert to things that are a little too complicated or a little too fine to details just to do pure scratch building. So that's about what I have.
All right, thank you, Lee. There are a lot of questions coming in, but as usual, we'll hold these to the end, and Lee's going to be around. We'll get through the rest of this stuff, and then we'll go back and hit him with all these questions and ask him when he's going to do the one for us for free. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you'll unshare, Lee, or you have unshared, haven't you? Let's see. Get this back to gallery view. And let me, at this point, remind you that our next month's meeting is February the 12th, which will be the, again, the third, no, it'll be the second, won't it? Yeah, second Saturday in February. It's a short month, so we'll get it in there. So with that said, JM, are you ready to do your little video audio editing thingamajig?
I believe I am. Okay. As of right now, you should see on your screen basically the video editor for Windows users. Right? Apple users, we might have to come back with a different presentation for you on a later month, but this is for Windows, and I've got a slide up right now. It says the ZoomTRAK Snapshot Topic. That means it's short. We'll be here and will be done in 10 minutes, and the title is Quick and Easy Video Production. Our goal is to see all of your great work coming through the internet by way of our YouTube channel, or perhaps placing it into a link that might go on our website, or so many other places, including social media. So, Razor, can you hear me? Did you have some questions that you were prepared to ask me today?
Yeah, I do. Let's just get down to the first one. How do you find and open this editor?
Very good. So as you can tell, within this editor, I actually included some photo slides. And that's your question right there. How do you find and open the video editor? And I'm going to now go to the next photo that I uploaded, which is within Windows 10. If you will click the Start button and then click on All Apps and then scroll to the V and click Video Editor, we're going to see that here next. Okay. Now I know these screens are small. Don't worry about it too much small, and later on we'll be able to go back and see this much greater expanded. But if you can see my, Razor, can you see my cursor moving on the screen?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so step 1 is we push the Start button. Step 2 is we push the little All Apps, and then step 3 we find the V, and right next to it is Video Editor. And I need to let you know, folks, this is free. This is part of your Microsoft Windows 10 application. You don't pay any extra for it. And to use it, to publish with it, there's no extra charge. Okay? So now to the next slide here. When we click on Video Editor, what happens? This is what you get. It'll say, name your video. And that's going to be our very first step. Now I need to get my own face out of the way here so I can click to the next slide. Alright, so the name of this video is going to be Quick and Easy Video Production. That's pretty easy to come up with, but I want you to think about what title would you present for yours. Might be My Layout Tour, or it might be My Club at the latest show, or it could be My Rail Fanning and what I modeled as a result. There's so many titles that you could come up with, but I want you to just think outside the box about the type of video content that we as N-scale model railroaders are interested in producing. Okay, slide into the next one here. All right, Razor, I think we're ready for the next question.
Well, how about if I ask you, how do you select and import the photos and videos you want to use?
That is a great question, and honestly,
I thought of that myself.
So the first thing is, and you saw, those of you who were with us a few months ago and saw the interviews that I did with Stone Sitzman and with Ken Richter, we talked about how to take videos. And I think the bottom line for them was, wherever you're at, just take video. I've got my phone in front of me. That's a great tool that you can use. It's with virtually everybody all the time. Use it up. Fill up the memory on your phone with videos that you're taking even at a show, knowing that you can later download that content onto your computer or onto a thumb drive and then clear that memory again from your phone so that you're not compromising your phone. I actually saw someone recommend this past week, don't ever turn away your phone. Like don't throw them away, don't give them back, use them. You can use your phone as an external throttle. You could use it as a camera so that you've always got your phone to be able to use as a phone. Okay, so now that you've taken all those photos and videos and you've transferred them onto your laptop, then you're going to want to have them in a particular place. Now, in the video editor tool, and again, we're on the tool right now. If I was to go up here and say video editor, there's our quick and easy video editor. And on the slide I have here, you notice it says your project library is empty. Well, my library was empty at the start, but I went ahead to basically help speed this up. I preloaded a whole bunch of photos and videos. It's called the project library. And you'll notice that the very first slide we saw, it's right there, followed by the second one and the third, and so on. All the way down here, you see I've already preloaded some videos and photos. And I will tell you that these photos and videos were not on my computer before I started the day today. It is literally that quick. And when you click the add button, I'm going to click it once so you all can see what happens here. It says you want it from your PC, from a collection, or from the web. All right, and when you click from this PC, it's going to open up a dialog box here. I might be taking a risk because I don't know if you can see this under my share screen. Razor, confirm. Can you see all the files?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So you notice that what I did here is I created one folder under my documents. It includes all of the photos and videos that I knew that I was going to want to use for this video. That just made it easy for me to organize them in one place. But you'll notice that as soon as I click add, and as soon as I clicked the specific photos and videos I wanted, they now show up. I'm pointing at the screen. I need to point at the camera. There you go. As soon as I selected them, they are now in the library. Okay, so now I'm going to select the next slide here. There it is. All right, so there was all the photos and videos arranged, and when I click any one of them, the next thing that's going to happen is, go ahead, Razor.
You got to figure out how to fill in the video storyboard, maybe?
That is correct. All right, so let's take a longer look here at this total screen. And you know what's weird is that when you're presenting, you actually get all of the tools, like the toolbar at the top. And I'm pretty sure y'all don't see the screen sharing bar, but it's in my way at the moment. I can work around it, though. You notice here we have the project library. Okay, over here we have the video, kind of the test screen. This is where what you put in the storyboard below. Here's the storyboard with all of those files that we've dragged down. Okay, this is where they'll ultimately be displayed. Here's what I'm going to do for simplicity. I'm going to go up here and take this little arrow. Now that I've already got my photos and videos, I'm going to move it out of the way. All right, you see that? So now we're looking squarely at our presentation. Now in the storyboard, let's see, here's the question that Razor just asked. What strategy do you follow? And here's my shortest answer to that. I like to tell a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Right? So what would you do at the beginning of a story? I might say, I am a member of the Richmond area NRail in Richmond, Virginia. I might show a picture of my clubhouse, maybe the entire club layout, and then I would proceed to show you videos and photos of my layout, and then I would conclude with a little wrap-up. Okay, so that's my strategy, is to basically tell a story. And I want you to think about using the storyboard to tell a story by putting your photos in the right order. Now notice what happens here. If I were to say, you know what, that question about the storyboard, I want to put that in front of where I had all those files stored. Well, I just moved it right in front of you. I just moved the order of sequence. But if I figure, oh, that was a mistake, I'm going to move it back, well, I'm going to move it back. And right now on my screen I'm seeing a delay, and there it goes. So in the world of Zoom, I was warned we might run out of memory here, but we'll keep on going. All right, so that's the strategy. You basically place your storyboard, all of those photos and videos, onto the board, and they're going to go from left to right, basically from start to finish. All right, very simple and easy. All right, the next slide. Actually, I was going to show you an example of what this looks like. All right, so at the top, even as we're placing the photos and videos, you can hit play at any time. I'm going to do that right now. All Right, you should see this is what happened at my clubhouse earlier this week. There's a steam engine running through the tunnel. At one point, in fact, you might notice that in the bottom corner here, there's a little X next to the sound. And that's because I decided to mute the sound. Why did I do that? Well, because there were some folks talking and maybe even coughing in the background. So just for clarity, I cleaned it up. Now this one, I can actually hear a little bit of sound. Can you all hear some sound?
I can't.
Okay. It's just the motor running by. There's nothing really to hear on this one. But this is an example of the video. Here we go. All right, this one we got the steam coming out of the tunnel. Razor, can you hear that?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause that. All right, so I have total control as I'm building this. I have my storyboard down below. Here it's tracking which video we're on with the yellow line underneath it, right? So when I got started here, I clicked the first video, it automatically went to the second and then to the third. Notice that the amount of time consumed by each video is actually here in the bottom left corner. What you need to know is that the next video, which is going to show 2 minutes and 42 seconds, was actually a 29-minute video at the start of today. And I already did some editing to slice it down. Okay, and you can do that. This is where you can do that very simply. All right, Razor, we're going to go on to the next question, so we keep moving.
Yeah, well, when I did mine, I made some mistakes. I did it in a single take, and I said the wrong thing, and I need to clean out what I said and fix what I said wrong. And if I had to take a break, I don't have a pause button, and I had to take two of them. How do I get those all put together and edit them and get the fuzzy stuff out?
That's a great question, Razor. We refer to that as post-production. All videographers, movie makers, they will take all their raw footage, and I'm going to go back to the previous video here just to demonstrate this, and they'll say, okay, you know what? I don't like that light was so far into the tunnel. It really felt like it took too long to show up on screen, and so I am going to use these editing tools. You can see that I'm highlighting them. You could change the speed. You could modify, you could put filters on, like to change the color and add 3D effects. This is all kind of prettying up a photo, but to be very basic here, you can trim this video. I'm going to click trim right now, and you'll notice that the picture now gets big, and notice these brackets at the bottom. Okay, the entire length of this video is 27:46, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over. And you notice that it now starts, oh, that engine just came out of the tunnel. I want it to go right there. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click done. And again, we're relying on memory of the Zoom deal here, but looks like it worked. All right, so what I'm going to do just to test that out, you can see the time went from 27 seconds down to 21, and when I hit play, and let's see, that if I hit that, that would take me all the way back to the beginning. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to hit play. There it goes. It took us back to where we were. So the point is that we can slice exactly like you said, Razor. If you were coughing at the beginning of that scene, if you had said something that was a mistake, you can go in there and can slice it out. You can do more than that. Check this out. We're going to take the same video and it says split. Notice clip 1 and clip 2. What it just did is took my current location in the video and it basically split it in half. And that means that what if I wanted to put a explanatory or maybe just an explanatory slide in the middle? By splitting the video in half and clicking done, I'm going to go from one, watch what happens when I click done here. It's working on it. Okay, notice that now we have a 10-second video and 11.37, and we could fit anything that we want. We could come up here and we could drag another slide right back down in between 11 and 10. It's that easy. You literally drop and drag it into place, and then you can play it until you get it exactly the way you like it. Okay, I'm going to keep on moving here. What edits and enhance? Okay, so that was the edits and enhancements. You can tell that if you went across these menus, I'm really going to encourage you all, spend the time in looking at, just play, just experiment. You know, this is all trial and error, but it's free, so we might as well do it, right? Here is a version of my layout video that I also included, and I'm going to go ahead and go forward here just so we can see that the end is coming up here pretty quick. And I'm going to hit play on this. Now you're going to hear my voice here. In 1945, following the end of World War II, a group of U.S. investors, mostly with stakes in the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, formed the Blue Ridge and Western Railroad in order to compete head-to-head with the Clinchfield Railroad. The Blue Ridge and Western Railroad became known simply as the Brew Railroad. The investors, led by ambitious railroad men Ted McCormick and John McGowan, hired retired U.S. Army General J.P. Manning to serve as the Brew Railroad's first CEO. Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. I am planning, folks, in the near future to do a full layout tour that really demonstrates what I just showed you. But the Blue Ridge and Western Railroad, that is the Richmond Area NRail club layout. And you can tell by the way I narrated that we created a story, a backstory for a fictitious, a plausibly prototypical fictional railroad. And so when I started off this presentation today by saying I want you to be storytellers, be movie makers, think about what you're crafting as you're modeling and how would you pitch that story. You know, if you were going to take your video and the video of your model railroad and take it to Hollywood, what would that look like? How would you do it? And how would you make the story compelling? And that's a challenge. It's part of what being a model railroader is all about, in my opinion. Okay, so now we're getting really close to the end here.
Yeah, JM, yeah, we're going to have to kind of wrap this up. Can you show us how to save and publish this, because we're running long?
There you go. There's the slide. JM, wrap up by showing us how to save and publish the video. And so the very next slide. Here we have the video editor. If you look in the top right corner, I've circled it, but up here you see it says Finish Video. All right, now when you actually click Finish Video, this is, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and click it. When I click it, you'll notice that it then says video quality. You can make selection about what quality you want, and then you can click export, which is where it'll send it directly to your desktop. You will have saved the video. I'm going to click cancel because that's pretty time consuming and data consuming, but for the purpose of answering the question, how do we save and publish the video, I'm going to encourage everybody here. Everyone in the sound of my voice today is a member of NRail. And as such, you have the privilege of sharing your videos on our YouTube channel. And the way to do that, I'm going to now click on the very last slide here. This is an email address. And you notice it says videos@nrail.org. That's my personal email up top, JM. I sent an email to videos and I said, I just made a video, now what? And this is where you and I will get into a discussion, because you've got options, right? You're now what might be, oh, I just saved my video on YouTube and I've got my own YouTube channel. Would you share that video to your YouTube, the NRail YouTube channel? We'd be glad to do that. You might also say, I really want the entire audience of the NRail channel to actually see my video as they publish it. By doing that, what you're going to do is you're going to let me know it when you send me the email, and then I'm going to give you a link to our Google Share Drive, and you'll be able to store your video, which might be multiple gigabytes big, and you'll be able to store that in the cloud, so to speak, and then I will take your video and I will publish it for you on the NRail YouTube channel. So those are the options. We've got lots of options for production. The purpose of the email is I really want us to engage in a conversation. Let me help you. And I think with that, we're gonna have a fabulous time. In fact, I did wrap up with one last photo here. Razor, you probably see yourself on the screen there in the background. If I hit play here, I don't know if that will make that big or not. No, it won't. I took a video and a photo of a ZoomTRAK session months ago when I was in the layout room, and we actually use a camera connected to a cord that goes to our big TV so that our members can watch the ZoomTRAK live while it's happening. And I thought that would be a great segue back to you, Razor.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I will say this. When I presented the video of my layout on ZoomTRAK a few months ago, we ended up putting it on. Now I have my own YouTube thingamajigger, but it has a link to it, and I've got over 8,000 hits off of this. So working through NRail, you get the information and it gets shared so people can find it. My original video I did 4 years ago has maybe 40 or 50 hits, but it really works. So thank you, JM.
Great.
We will, it's 1/2 the hour. I think let's go right on to Terry, and we'll do the Talkin NTRAK blog, and then we'll take our stretch break and go in before we start these. So Terry, take it away.
First of all, everybody, Happy New Year, such as it is. It's not starting out all that great, but Happy New Year anyway. Just let me get my thing up and at 'em here. Now, today I'm talking about Caddo's Superelevated Curve Track. When dealing with superelevated corners, options can be beneficial. Caddo has 3 sets of superelevated double track curve track and easements from flat to superelevated and back. 315 and 282 millimeter radii, the standard T-TRAK corner radii. There's also 414, 381 millimeter radii, and the 480, 447 millimeter radii, also known as our large or 19-inch corners. Now, although the purpose of this presentation is to discuss the large radius corners with the 480 and 447 millimeter super elevated double track curves that are gaining popularity, it also applies to the others. They're just smaller. Although an end cap 180-degree corner of 480, 447 millimeter super elevated curve track is possible, it would be substantially larger than the 315, 282 standard corner one shown here. And end caps are limiting. Straight modules cannot be added between two 90-degree corners. Easement curve tracks are required entering and leaving super elevated track corners, so an end cap removes the need of a set of easement tracks between two corner modules. So here's an idea. When constructing your new large radius corner modules, designate which one will be the left module and which will be the right, and leave the easement curves shown off. Now that you have left those easement tracks off, you have options. Decisions. Which track do you use? The easement tracks or another 45-degree super elevated curve track? But why do you want options? Corner modules are often used individually, interfacing with flat track, otherwise non-super elevated track modules. Large radius corners can be separated by a single straight module and still fit on a double wide row of tables. Only when a pair of corners are used as a two-piece 180-degree corner can the two easement tracks be replaced with the single 45-degree super elevated curve, providing a constant level track for trains rather than transitioning on, and off super elevation again. Now, I have no evidence that the on-off super elevation would be a problem. It cannot be avoided when short modules are placed between the corners, but a constant level, you would think, should be better for long trains and fast bullet trains. Now, with this situation, assembling your two corners together Attach the removable 45-degree curve section to one module. Since the lower inside corners of the modules are approximately the center of the circle that would be created by the corners, place them together and then rotate the modules together. What you see here is my 8-track large corner. My 8-track large corners consist of super elevated and non-super elevated curve track. If I can make this work, a simple track corner should be easy peasy with little scenery disruption around the removable track. Now, why I didn't use the 315, 282 millimeter super elevated corners, I don't know. But I didn't, obviously. Regardless of which set of super elevated curves you use, clip the two easement sections together, place them under the super elevated curve track section, and place them inside the super elevated curve track packaging for transportation or storage. Cut off the little tab on the cardboard backing that holds the clear plastic cover in place. It's not necessary to hold the package together and makes assembly of the package easier. Thanks for watching, and maybe next month we'll find out what that little box is. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Terry. All right, if everybody is ready to go, Lee, are you ready? It looks like you've got everything set up, so the stage is yours.
Well, you've given me about 30 minutes. I think I've got about 10 minutes worth of stuff, and then I'll open it up to questions if that's okay.
That'll be great. We'll do that. We'll do your questions, and then we'll cycle back because Lee's got a bunch of questions too.
Okay.
Questions on Lee Williams' presentation.
So what is FreemoN? FreemoN is a modular standard that was developed by Wesley Steiner, probably 2002, 2004. It's a standard that's really just dictates where your end plates are at, and what happens between the end plates is really kind of up to you. You can see here's the layout that we did in Salt Lake City in 2019. This is an 8,000 foot layout. It took about 3 or 4 hours to make it all the way around. This one's small compared to the one we just did in Evanston 6 months ago. We were at 15,000 square feet of modules that we set up there. This is the FreemoN.net webpage. This is where the standard for FreemoN is hosted. The standard is set up into overview and objectives and definitions and track work and all this other fun stuff. I'm working on an article to probably a multi-unit article on building a module that'll go over a lot of the stuff here in the standard. FreemoN attempts to raise the bar for N-scale modular railroading by specifying standards for benchwork, track, and digital control that promotes and even forces prototypical appearance and operational characteristics. This document contains standards that must be followed to the letter and recommendations that have been gathered from various sources. The objectives of FreemoN are to promote and require high fidelity prototypical scale model railroading, to ensure reliable track and electrical operation, to encourage visual continuity between modules, and encourage loose association among individuals free from club memberships, dues, and titles, to keep the standard and specifications to a minimum without compromising the previous objectives. There are as many different module types as you can think of. There are 5 basic module types. There's modules that just have one end plate, which would be a stub end module. There are straight modules which have 2 end plates. You can have curved modules of any degree. I have 30-degree modules. I have 60-degree modules. I have 90-degree modules. I've built 10-degree modules and 15-degree modules. I've seen a module that was 110-degree curve. I've got 4 S curves sitting here in my garage, and they all meet the standard. You can also build junction modules, which have more than 2 end plates. I have 3 junction modules in my garage right now. 2 of them have 3 end plates, and one of them actually has 4 end plates. And it's a model of a junction that is about 45 minutes south of me. It's called Plumber Junction. And then you can also build loop modules, which loop back up on themselves. Typically, FreemoN is a single track standard. A lot of us have started doing a double track standard, and we're working on getting that implemented into a standard practice or possibly part of the standard at some point. I've got a slide of the end plate if I can get rid of this. So that's what an end plate looks like for FreemoN. It's typically 6 inches tall and 24 inches wide, although it can be as narrow as 12 inches wide. The track is mounted in the center of the module, and it is a butt joint, so it comes all the way to the end. And I will flip over to my phone and walk around the modules. I've got 35 modules here in the garage. I think I've got 14 of them set up right now.
Got it? Yeah.
There you go.
Ain't technology great?
Okay.
So this module right here is one of my stub end modules. It's a 2-track industrial siding. If you look there, there's one of the butt joints. We use PCB ties that are glued down to the frame and then soldered to the actual rail, so that joint doesn't move at all. I've still got to get ballast on this one. But that's a 2.5 foot long, 1 foot wide FreemoN stub end module. Moving on, this is a 10 foot long industrial module. It's got a passing siding on it and about 6 or 7 industry tracks. And as we move around, we come up to one of the curves that I've got. This curve is owned by Gary Frizzle. I borrowed it to go to Evanston 6 months ago, and I haven't returned it yet, but I talked to him the other day. He's still not in the mood to have it back in his garage yet. So this is a golf course that he designed and built. It's about a 100-yard par 3, if anybody's golfing. So, and this is his other corner. Typically, I build modules in sets so that I can store them face to face. If you look right there, there's a pile of them all stacked up, stored face to face. Here is one of my junction modules. It's got a locomotive servicing facility, a couple passing tracks, and then a tail for a Y. And the end there is also a FreemoN. As we work our way around. And we make our way down and we come back down to that single track again. And this is my other major stub end module. It's a little 4-track stub yard. And those are the modules that I've got set up in the garage today. Any questions about FreemoN?
I'll hit you with one right off the bat. Do you have any trouble with snagging the rail that, since it comes that flush to the end when you're traveling, that rips your thing when you get to your location, your rails rip loose?
It rips my skin off before it rips the rails loose.
Because of the way you glued it down?
Because it is glued down with Gorilla Glue and then soldered in place. I haven't had to adjust any rails. I've had to put Band-Aids on.
Okay.
So I haven't had problems.
All right. Well, let me go down the bottom here. We got a question. Can code 55 rail be used?
Only code 55 rail can be used. You can't use anything else but code 55.
And it doesn't matter
Nope.
which brand, as long as it's code 55.
I recommend you stay away from Pico. Pico is actually code 80. It's just embedded deeper. There are no rail joiners used at all. Everything is flush joints. See if we can get in there and look at that. There's no rail joiners right there on that joint.
Okay.
How does it differ from the European system? Not much. It's pretty close to the European system for doing stuff. How high is the standard above the floor? Track height is 50 inches plus or minus an inch.
All
Where do you
right.
get the PCB ties? You can get the PCB ties from Fast Tracks, or there's a couple other places. There's actually a place here locally. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like 5 miles from my house, and he sells PCB ties. Do I use pins on my modules? This module joint right here, where I've got 2 tracks, I use pins. The rest of it, we don't use any pins at all. How do you organize operations and avoid cornfield meets? You pay attention. If you don't pay attention, you don't run.
What I think he's getting at is there a website, a Facebook site or something like that where the FreemoN guys gather?
There is a Facebook page, FreemoN Facebook page. I don't know if anybody has set up a exhibition where there was transition modules. Jeremy Jansen, who I believe is on, would be able to speak to that more than I can, as I think he may have done that with Gateway FreemoN and Gateway NTRaK.
Yes, he has.
So I have never done it. I don't know if I ever will. Oh, Brett Isaacs posted the link to Facebook there, the Facebook group. It is a private group, but if you log into it, we'll try to get you in as soon as we can. We've got like 10 admins on it, and we're usually pretty quick on getting people in.
Do you have standards for power?
What do you mean for power?
Digitrax, NCE, what do you use? It's all DCC, I would assume.
It's DCC, and right now there is no standard whether it's Digitrax or NCE. It's usually up to the person that's setting up the show to decide. For me, in Evanston, that is the brain that ran Evanston. It's a DCS 240 with a DB 210. And we had the one brain, and then I think we had 18 boosters set up. And if you want a demonstration on boosters and talk about the boosters, we could do a whole nother show on that. They're all based on the design from Inland Pacific over in the Southern California area. That's my command box. I do have another booster box that's right there, and it is just a booster with the DB 150 for Digitrax. We do run wireless. We do run Wi-Fi. So can you please tell us how you organized Evanston about module configuration within the hall? That is a story in itself. If you want to read the newsletter, most of it's in there. There's 10 pages of it. It was a chore. I was in hundreds and hundreds of hours organizing and getting that thrown together.
All right, well, talk to us about your newsletter.
The newsletter?
Yeah.
The article that I just wrote?
Well, you said it is in the newsletter about how you did this stuff. Is this something that goes, what is it?
NRail newsletter.
Oh, okay, it's in the NRail newsletter. Okay, got you. Now I'm there.
15 days ago, whatever it was.
Lee, what about the signaling system?
There is none.
But didn't somebody actually propose it? Was that a proposed standard, or that each module
HO.
have?
That's HO.
Okay.
I do have signals on here. They do not operate. They are wired, but I haven't wired them up switches yet. There are some people that do have signals on there.
I guess these are modules are bidirectional. It doesn't left and right could switch on two modules and it plugs or DAP and all that.
There is no front, there is no back, there is no left, there is no right.
Okay.
There's a couple modules out there where people have built a direct front and a back side. And generally, when I'm putting those in a layout, I try to take that into consideration when we're setting it up. But
It looks like you buy your skirting by the 5-bolt pack.
I buy it by the, yeah, by the bolt. I've got 200 feet of skirting, and I use black binder clips, 1-inch binder clips to clip it on. So, and that green tub right there.
All right, and so your car is in the driveway in the snow, right?
Yeah, and my trailer and my other car.
Okay.
End plates have to be 6 inches high. That's part of the standard. If they're not 6 inches high, things aren't going to mesh up right.
All right, looks like the questions have slowed down. So with that, Lee, stick right there. We make, as more questions come up about the FreemoN, we'll get to them. But let's go back up to the top of these chats and come back to some of the questions that we had for Lee Williams.
Razor, I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll right now while we go through the questions, okay?
Okay. What is John Armstrong had a question. What is the typical cost for printing an object? Lee Williams, are you there?
Lee, you're muted.
Yep. Yeah, I'm unmuted now. Yeah, actually, there was a question before that about no STL exports. And on SketchUp 2017, which I'm using, you were able to import a SketchUp add-on, and it was free. It went to a website, and you downloaded and installed an add-on. So I was able to put an add-on for an STL export. A typical cost with the UV resin printer I'm using, you go on Amazon. I was able to get a, not including the shipping, a 1 liter bottle of resin for about a little under $40, if I remember correctly. And how much each particular print costs depends upon how much the volume of resin you're using. The program does give you the capability for larger things like those arches I was using to hollow it out so that it doesn't use as much resin. But I would say typically a fairly large print may cost $5, $10, or a lot smaller ones are less.
Are there savings that come about when you do multiples of one? Once you get something done, if you want to print several of them, is there a cost savings?
Well, it doesn't reduce the cost of the amount of resin you're using. That'll be the same for each print. What it does do is you don't have to go through the effort of drawing up another, print for that other object.
Right. All right. Glenn wants to know what kind of glue you use with the rosin.
Actually, I was just using a super glue or ACC. Seems to work pretty well.
And where did you get your?
Actually, I just bought it through Amazon. Now, I found it on Amazon. It was any cubic printer, and I went and found it on Amazon and ordered it through Amazon.
All right. So it was a question. So those you showed required no post-print sanding or anything, just washing?
Well, like I said, you can do a little bit of sanding. I did some around the edge where the print was attached to that plate that starts it. You have to expose the first few layers a longer time to make it stick to that plate, and that kind of made a little bit of a lip on the edge that I sanded that off. But that was about the only sanding I needed to do.
All right. And then how long does it take to learn how to do this?
Well,
if you're not an engineer like you are.
Yeah, it actually, the way I learned how to use the SketchUp software is I went on the internet and found a number of YouTube videos on how to use it. So it took a few hours to learn how to use it. You watch the video and they show you some of the more basic stuff. And then I wanted to learn, particularly when I went to those little bottle shaped things on the railing, I had to go back and find another YouTube video to figure out how to do it. But it's kind of an iterative process. You know, you watch a YouTube video, learn how to do some of the more basic stuff, a 15, 20-minute YouTube video, and then you can try doing some of that more basic stuff. And then just kind of learn as you go.
All right. Did you get it right the first time when you,
Oh, of course
when you
not.
did these bridges, or how many iterations did you go through before you got the one you showed us?
Well, I went through a lot of iterations on some other stuff I was printing besides that. And I've got two bad prints over here that I made. One was, for some reason, it got about a third of the way through the print and it came off the plate. So I just stopped basically adding any layers at that. And I've got another one where I made a mistake of, it goes bad sometimes. So it does take a few times to figure out some of the parameters you want with the prints and some other stuff like that. So yeah.
Is it part of a learning curve that it gets better as you do more?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, certainly is.
Okay.
How much did it cost for the printer? Like I said, I think I bought a version of a printer that was being discontinued because most of the UV resin printers that I saw were somewhere in the vicinity of a little under $500. I bought mine for a little under $300, and it's not, the particular model wasn't on Amazon anymore. Although I did go to the Anycubic website and found it wasn't displayed, but I did a search on it and it came up for about $99. So I think that was a clearance price for discontinued model. The wash and cure machine was a little under $150. How much is this bridge going to cost? Well, in addition to buying that, I expect it'll probably cost me this particular one about $100 or so before I finish all the spans, but well, maybe not that much. I'm really not sure how much it's going to cost because there's about 5 of those large spans on this bridge. So it's going to print about 10 of those larger prints. And I've got it right here. You can see these are, here, I'll show it looking at it here. But you can see it's a pretty good size print. How long it takes to print depending upon the height. The 6-inch high print took about 12 hours to print. So it's not very fast.
All right. Different color resins.
Yes, there are. There are some that are opaque, some that are clear. If you go into Amazon and do a search on UV resin, 3D UV resin, you can see a bunch of them. They make some clear ones in different colors, and then they have white and gray and black and a few other, I think even some red. For most model railroad applications, you just paint the object you want for the color you want.
All right. I'm looking, I think that's pretty much all of the questions I see on chat, unless there's something new.
Fraser, yeah, somebody said any insight on how to transform prior prototype 2D drawings into 3D design models?
Oh boy. I have not really got a good method for doing that other than you try to get pictures from different angles. I did those with no tools. I just worked for some pictures and then made the 3D drawings for the size that would fit on my layout, quite frankly, on the modules that I'm building, and tried to get the proportions about right. But I don't really have a good tool or a particular method for doing that.
Okay. Just for all your information, I went online about a month ago on Google and searched N-scale buildings. And there are a lot of really nice 3D printed buildings. There's an outfit that works through Etsy that there's a guy that's making an N-scale, making houses, Sears Craftsman houses and stuff like that. They're selling for 10 or 12 bucks, finished, ready to go. All you gotta do is paint them, and they're maybe cut 2 or 3 pieces, but it's almost all in one piece. It's amazing the stuff that's out there that you can get. And then I guess, Lee, you're gonna start doing things for us at a special price, right?
I guess we'll see. We'll have to see about that. I know Bruce has got some stuff he wants me to do. As when he can get me some information on it.
All right, and there was one about what kind of paint do you use?
Oh, actually, I've been using just some acrylic paint. I have come to kind of appreciate the Tamiya. I think it's Tamiya acrylic paint because it's got a thinner that really works pretty well with an airbrush and thinning it out much better than some of the other ones. I think it's Tamiya.
Okay, that seems to be all the questions. It looks like we've gotten this presentation in just right at an hour. We're at an hour and 4 minutes. I want to thank all 4 of our presenters today for doing all this and getting it ready. It's been very helpful. We enjoyed the presentation. And again, next week, we have our next month is on the 12th of February. We have not finalized the agenda yet. So if you have something that is half as good as these presentations today, they're still going to be great. So we encourage you to send it to us or contact us at leadership@nrail.org, and we'll try to get you scheduled. Any final comments, Bruce?
Nope. Just
No?
keep in mind that if you've got a topic and you're not sure about presenting, just go ahead and send an email to ZoomTRAK@nrail.org, and we'll try and help you put it together one way or another.
All right. And make sure everybody's, before we shut this down, everybody's filled out their poll. So Bruce knows all the answers to everything. And thank you all very much. Stay warm out there. It looks like all hell's going to break loose through most of the United States the next day or two. But
Send those videos.
send in
Videos at nrail.org.
All right. You all have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.